Hey everyone, welcome back to Big Strong Book. I'm Reed, and today we're going to be discussing Chapter 6 of Stone of Farewell, The Nameless Dead. So we begin with Megwin, and I don't know, I kind of like to place myself, or just try to imagine being in Megwin's headspace as this chapter begins. So her father has died. Her brother has died. It is now up to Megwin to lead the people of Hernistir forward. And I almost want to ask myself the question, could I do that? And we get to see throughout Megwin's storyline, in the series, but also within this chapter 2, we see the frayed edges of her mental health, the frayed edges of what she is going through. And even though from those, her advisors in Hernistir, her advisors in the Teg, or around the Teg around her, the few survivors, they may think she's mad, but, if any of us, out there, I know I am, and I'm sure many of you are too, if you're close with your family and then you lose your whole family, like what would that do to you? Not only that, not only losing your family, but you're then expected, you're in the middle of a geopolitical conflict. You have to maneuver your family, or your country through this. You have to make the decisions. You have your advisors, but even so, and it gets to the point within this where she says, okay, we have to look or Krabhan, who she's talking to, or Megwin asks him, some of these caverns run deep into the mountain's heart. Is that not true? There were always deep places in the Grandspog. Krabhan nodded slowly, trying to understand her, and some were delved even deeper for mining. Then we will start exploring tomorrow at dawn. By the time the Count and his men come back, we will be ready to move. Move? Krabhan squinted, surprised. Move where, Lady Megwin? Farther into the mountains, she said. It came to me as Arnorin sang, we Hernistiri are like Druki's family in the song. We cannot live here anymore. King Elias has destroyed his brothers Joshua, and there's part of that despair too, because they're not as well informed about what's going on. They don't know Joshua has survived. Now there is nothing, says Megwin, and no one left to drive Scully away. And then we go to Guthwolf. And it's very interesting to think of this chapter. Obviously, each chapter, besides being linked by the plot, within this chapter, things are thematically linked as well. And we see that with Guthwolf, because Guthwolf is, to put it mildly, he's disturbed. He's disturbed by what he saw at Nagelman. He is disturbed by the things that Elias and Priorites keep doing. And it just says, picture after picture appeared before his shuttered gaze. Images of battles and tournaments, the dry repetitions of court etiquette, the chaos of the hunt. Foremost in every scene was King Elias' face, the flash of panicky relief, quick hidden, that had greeted Guthwolf as he broke through a ring of attackers to rescue his friend during the Thirthings War. The blank, black stare with which Elias received confirmation of his wife Halissa's death. And most disturbing of all, the secretive, gleeful, yet at the same moment shame-faced stare that the king now wore whenever he and Guthwolf met. And he keeps thinking he's seeing visions with buildings and towers that are not there. And he thinks that he's starting to go mad. Again, we have the themes of madness within this chapter. We have Megwin, we have Guthwolf here. And he says, no, when thinking about that he's going mad, he says, "No, it is the way the king has changed that fills my mind with strange thoughts. How Elias shifts from moment to moment, from lunatic anger to childish worry. Elias is awake, he has not slept well since Joshua first began plotting against him." And he's even beginning to wonder if Elias fears assassination. And then he tries to speak with Priorites, and Priorate says, "Have you had trouble sleeping?" He asks that to Guthwolf, and Guthwolf says, "Yes, no, damn you, priest, that's not important. I was just on my way to see the king." Priorate says he's just taken a sleeping draught, and Guthwolf says, "You were alone?" And Guthwolf, again, he's confused too. He's like, "There's no guard posted at the door." And Priorate says, "With such a doughty warrior as yourself stalking the gardens, there is scarce need for one. But you are correct. I will speak to the chief constable about it." Guthwolf is just left. He's befuddled. He's befuddled. He thinks he's going mad. The sows of this conflict, or the seeds that have been sowed into the figures of this conflict, are starting to germinate. The seeds are starting to germinate. They're really starting to take root. And everybody has been pushed to the edge, or they are about to be pushed to the edge of the extremes of what they can handle. Maegwyn has, and now we know that Guthwolf has as well. And then add another cherry on top to this mountain of madness that we're carving up here. We have Ingen Jegger, who is a traveler. For most of this section, he is referred to as the Nameless Traveler. And we see, I believe, in a scene with dialogue for the first time this series, Utuku, the Norn queen, her silver mask that haunts everybody's visions. And he says, "Mistress, destroy me." Ingen Jegger says this, "Destroy me, for I have failed you." And she says, "Be silent. I will find out what I wish to know." And she eventually says to him, "It is not for you to say whether or not you have failed me, mortal, but know this. I am not unpleased. I have learned many useful things today. The world still spins, but it spins towards us. I give you back your name, Ingen Jegger. You are still the Queen's Hunter. And this time I give to you a quarry such as no mortal has ever hunted. But first you must sleep deeply and be healed, for you have crossed farther into the realms of death than mortals may usually go and yet return. You will be made stronger, for your coming task will be a hard one." So, a question there, what is this quarry that Ingen Jegger will now hunt? We shall read and find out later on. And finally, within this chapter, we cut to the exodus from Naglemund. And we jump right back into that moment when Daernoth and Inskaldir and Josua are all fighting these attackers. And they have captured a Norn, and the Norn is alive. And they want to kill it, but Josua says no. We need to question it. And initially they think that, as a Norn, they're not going to speak in a human tongue. But then the Norn says, I speak your tongue. Soon it will be spoken only by the dead. And Josua says, "There's no use in our trying to hide now." And the Norn says, "There never was, mortal man. I will tell you nothing, pitiful short-lived things. Are you not yet used to dying with your questions unanswered? If you are so mighty, why do your fellows not slay us?" Josua asks, "and be done with it? Why waste your time on one so much lower than you? We will not wait much longer, never fear. You have caught me, but my fellows discovered all that we need to know. You may as well offer up your death prayers to that little man on a stick that you worship, for nothing will stop us now. And the Norn kind of dissipates, taunts them a little bit, and an Einskaldir kills the Norn, but just he gets fed up with him, and Joshua, of course, gets mad at him, and then Skaldir said, if I didn't, then what? Take him with us? Wake up with that grinning corpse face over yours some night? By the good God, Rimmersman, can you never wait before you strike? Joshua asks him. If you have no respect for me, what if your master is Grimner, who bade you obey me? And there's an interesting section here. Staring at his prince's profile, at Joshua's moon-painted face, so full of fierceness and sorrow, Dearnoth was reminded of a painting of Sir Camarus riding to the first battle of the Thirthings. King John's greatest knight had worn just such a look, proud and desperate as the starving hawk. Dearnoth shook his head, trying to clear the shadows away. What a night of madness this had become. And Joshua was trying to puzzle together what the Norn said, and he tells them, he said that his fellows had found out what they wanted, or learned what they wished to know. What could that mean? They send a walking dead man to come to us. They shoot arrows but don't kill us to prevent us from turning east, and now they send a few of their creatures to sneak into our camp like thieves. What do they want? They fear, Dearnoth said. They fear the swords, of course. What else would they fear? But we have no magical sword, Dearnoth said. Perhaps they do not know that. Perhaps that is one of the virtues of Thorn and Minier, that they are invisible to the Norn's magic. Of course, they must be, or the Storm King would have found them and destroyed them. How else could weapons deadly to him still exist? But why have they tried to prevent our going east? Prince shrugged. Who can say? We must think on this more, but I believe it is the answer. They fear we already have one or both of the swords, and they are afraid to come against us until they know. And so they head back to camp. And that is the end of chapter 6. So madness begins to take its hold over all of these characters within Osten Ard. So, chapter 6. Let me know what you think, and I will see you guys next time.